All right. So nice to meet you guys. I'm Gabriel. So those of you I may not have seen before. So. Hi, Michael. This is my black belt journey. So.
We're sitting over here.
Over here? Okay.
There you go. There you go.
All right.
Over here.
Over here. All right. I began my Taekwondo journey in September 2016 while beginning my junior year of high school at the Charlotte Engineering Early College and my first active year at UNC Charlotte. During that time, I decided to start participating in Taekwondo because I had a significant evening time slot open in my school schedule that I could use for getting physical activity as well as practice physical confidence. Prior to beginning this journey, I also met and knew several martial artists among my family and friends that embodied both strong ethical principle and physical aptitude for upholding their principles in martial arts. One person that I know who practices Taekwondo is my Uncle Tim, a 6th degree black belt who used to practice martial arts with my dad. That I got to meet during the summer preceding my junior year while he was traveling down from Wisconsin. While he was visiting, I asked my Uncle Tim and my dad about how I might use martial arts, particularly with self-defense. They started off with a disclaimer that you should always avoid physical altercation, but if one is inevitable, there are certain things you can do to protect yourself. Uncle Tim showed me one of the first self-defense movements I learned, where you can step on someone's leading foot to control their upper body motion and exploit that using a jab cross punch to stun them and escape. He and my dad walked through the technique with me, which I found very interesting as it showed that one can be physically deliberate, but also principled with self-control to avoid inflicting more harm than is necessary. I admired my dad, Uncle Tim, and others like him, including some students in my high school, to which I have fortunately been exposed, for their outstanding ability to act with principle as well as physical deliberation. After noticing how these people have conducted themselves in this way over an extended period, I was motivated to ask my dad during the start of my junior year about finding a martial arts school I could attend. This was difficult for me as it involved revisiting a failure of mine from my middle school career where I once tried Taekwondo at a school that was across the street from my neighborhood, but was personally discouraged from continuing in it. In addition, I believe I was also mentally unfit to see out a career in Taekwondo during that time, as I was unwilling to compromise it with my scouting activities. Willing to now try martial arts again, I set out to search for a local school with my dad's help that taught either Taekwondo or a related practice like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I asked for his help in this search process since he had previous experience with all sorts of martial arts that was evident in his interactions with my Uncle Tim. I looked up every martial arts school within a reasonable driving distance of our house, and we went out on the weekend to find whatever schools we could. Several of the schools which we searched turned out to not even exist anymore. So the search was difficult until we arrived at a handful of remaining schools. Among them was Black Belt USA, which stood out to my dad and me for how the school's instructors made Taekwondo and Muay Thai fun, but also upheld values for education and civic responsibility, unlike other schools that we had seen. My dad and I promptly tried the school's Muay Thai and Taekwondo curriculum, and since we only had time for one of the two, decided on pursuing Taekwondo for its emphasis on physical conditioning fundamentals and mental balance between focus on the art and personal life. My dad opted to practice Taekwondo with me during this time, which I'm very thankful as he motivated me to completely follow through my training that I needed to become proficient in at least some of the fundamentals of Taekwondo and ultimately become a black belt. Therein was one of my biggest mental improvements in Taekwondo, a willingness to both intelligently delegate my time to different necessary activities while persevering in those that are important and independent of my livelihood, such as with the relationships I've forged here. The physical benefits of Taekwondo are obvious, some of which constitute high aerobic endurance, improved flexibility, and muscle memory alignment with technique, such that one does not injure his or herself during physical activity. The physical benefits, however, could not exist without the added mental benefit and life skill of maintaining physical confidence, like that which one needs to follow through on an implementation of a technique. It is with this confidence that it is possible to stand up to adversity or intimidation like you would when breaking a wooden board. In this way, Taekwondo board breaking is both a symbolic action for the exercise of mental focus and self-confidence, as well as the implementation of your will. Take, for example, my red belt test where my breaking technique was a jumping turning back kick, where I repeatedly failed to break my board during the test for a variety of factors, ranging from not aiming or focusing my power to simply not providing enough energy when my aim was right. In this experience lies one of my most fond memories of my Taekwondo masters, Mark and Kevin Barrett, who helped me through the process even after I exceeded the 3 attempts I was supposed to take for breaking my board. They coached me to avoid inappropriately tensing up while kicking, getting frustrated, and resultantly losing my mental focus. After 6 attempts, I finally broke the board. I first imagined that I could break the board. I had the confidence and mental power needed to perform the board break. I then focused on what I physically must do to attain this feat through my assimilation of the jumping turning back kick technique and my rehearsal aiming the kick toward the center of the board in my mind. I garnered my mental focus. Just before kicking, I then mentally broke the board. Upon kicking, I attained reinforcement of my physical confidence that I could do so and physically broke the board. This is the symbolism of board breaking. As my belief in myself was important to make my skills and principles in Taekwondo functional, I made it a significant focus of my mentoring with 2 of the younger students in our school, Easton Horky and Giovanni Nelson. Easton never had much trouble with breaking and bag work, but I saw that his forms could improve with the use of power and imagination in intently performing his forms on an imaginary opponent. Hence, we worked on his forms for the white belt Kumse a lot. Over the past several months, I observed him improve his focus and power in his forms, a reflection of the growth of self-confidence I hope to stimulate. Giovanni did well on most things in our school, but like me, he had a challenge with one of his breaking techniques, the drop kick. So, we worked on the mental component of the board break, in addition to the implementation of it many times. He had to work at it, and after getting it several times consistently, he managed to test off on it, and I'm very proud of him for that. I really enjoyed working with both Easton and Giovanni, and am very proud of the progress they have made on their Taekwondo journey. I believe that they each can become exceptional performers of the art if they choose to pursue it and put in the effort necessary to do so. Being a mentor of the 2 boys gave me an appreciation for the work that my mentors in and outside of Taekwondo have invested in me, like when Mr. Chad Barbie mentored me as part of his black belt test back when I was a new student at Black Belt USA. My dad has supported me logistically and emotionally for many years, and it was with his help that I will be able to graduate in a high standing among the inaugural class of my high school on May 22nd, 2019. I want to thank Mrs. Jill Barbie, Master Mark Barrett, and Master Kevin Barrett for helping keep me on track to my black belt while adding their own senses of humor to make the experience more fun. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm thankful for having Karina Ramos, Sean Ramos, Master Zen, and Master Jonathan to help me find my way through Taekwondo amidst all my studies and encourage me to continue learning the art. I'm thankful that Jacob Pegram worked with me many times in my forms, kicking, and self-defense, even though it meant he sometimes he would not have a competent sparring partner. I appreciate Grandmaster Dan and Dr. Yang King for all their help and encouragement through this process spanning the latter portion of my high school career. Grandmaster King and Dr. King have helped me become both competent in Taekwondo and confident in myself with their leadership by example and the innumerable times they took with me and the other black belt candidates of our school to improve our teaching and understanding of the art. Thank you for all your encouragement, guidance, and support, because without it, I would not have gotten the phenomenal education on martial arts that I did, and my life certainly would not have seen the same enrichment that Taekwondo and the people in it have brought me.